Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was Justice League's Fire Shadow. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. In what appeared to be a large hotel complex in LA. Slow down Corey. Sorry friend Alex, I just do not want to be late for this meeting. The Hulkage was currently using once more his henge to take a far different facial appearance, while retaining the blonde hair he knew would be the indicator of him being the Hulkage. But with his face different from his actual face, not many would recognize him quickly enough, even if no one had actually seen his real mug. It sounded redundant, but Naruto had not made it this far in his life as a shinobi, without having plans that would pop into his head, and be ready for use when needed. Naruto had no idea how he got himself to be dragged here to this place where Corey was supposed to go for her first stint as a model, but here he was now, so he might as well suck it up. Besides, he could not ever find it in himself to say no, especially when Corey subconsciously used the sad puppy dog eyes move, even if he was certain he never taught her that. He was willing to wager a guess she might have seen it somewhere in one of those TV shows she took an interest in recently. The only thing he could take comfort in at this point was the fact that she was using the new cover name he gave her, well, even though she obviously did not like using that and not his real name. Apparently whoever the person was that managed to get Corey to work as a model, decided to have her work with a mentor, namely a female model who had been in the business a lot longer than most, to help her adjust. She was supposed to be here in the meeting place to meet Corey and evaluate her in a photo shoot that would be Corey's first run as a model, and at the moment, no mention of swimsuits being added. That was something of a disappointment to him, but he fought that part down. As soon as they arrived, Corey looked around to see the many people moving around, with her eyes looking from person to person in her seeing range. Naruto did likewise, though he was a bit more discreet in his looking since he was making sure that no one was there with ill intentions. He was well aware that models, like most celebrities, had their own share of dangers, from overtly eager fans to obsessed stalkers, so better to be careful. He also was taking a gander at the ladies in this place to be sure, and while there were definitely some attractive faces, they were not that attractive in his view to the ones he was familiar with, namely the ladies he worked with on occasion in the league. Kurama on the other hand seemed to have more interesting ideas in mind. Well, now some very beautiful faces and bodies here, fancy new material for your work. Maybe, but right now I want to know who is the mentor of Corey here. So you can get her to bed. Shut up. Yeah right, anyway, looks like we're not going to deal with obsessive stalkers and crazed fans or anything today. Which is a good idea, though I am picking up something odd coming from somewhere. You sense it? Naruto mentally agreed. He had begun to pick up some form of energy of sorts nearby. Whatever it was, it seemed primal, not chakra to be sure, but something else entirely. He decided to look around a bit more and hone in on what it was. It was not hostile to be sure, but there was no way that he was going to dismiss something until he was certain of it not being a threat to him or Corey, or anyone in the area. It was not long before Kurama spoke. It's not chakra to be sure, but it is primal energy. I'm guessing it might be similar to the powers used by that woman who was that back in Gotham, the one named Zatanna. Magica. So is it in a person? More like an amulet or charm of sorts, and it's coming closer, right there kid. Naruto moved to where the source of the signal was, and when he did home in on the source of the energy signal, he could not help but stare. The object appeared to be a pendant of sorts, a necklace like one of those tribal necklaces he had seen in his research of this world, while having some similarities to some items in his world. But none of that was the reason the blonde shinobi was staring. More to the fact, the reason he was staring was who was the person wearing said necklace. The person in question happened to be a drop-dead gorgeous dark-skinned and dark-haired woman who smiled in his and Corey's direction. Naruto could not help but stare at the ebony-skinned beauty who was now moving in their direction. It wasn't that he was unfamiliar with those whose skin tone was dark or light brown. Most of the shinobi in Kunoichi and Kumo had that skin tone. But this new rival certainly had the aura of someone who was very capable, and he had a feeling that it was not merely as a model. She had a very lush but strong and well-toned build on her. Her arms were also showing some level of strength, and as he looked closer, he could see that despite the long gloves she wore, she was tall to be sure, though not as tall as others, despite the fact that she did have high heels. And in her current outfit, which was some form of skin-hugging golden yellow suit that had a V there in the middle, which was able to show more of her skin, as well as her bust, which was pretty impressive, she was stunning to say the very least. However, he had to admit she did look rather familiar to him, and know his recognition of the woman in question was not through the reading of magazines, since he had been rather busy as of late to crack open one of those magazines in question. The blonde quickly knew that he had to play his cards right, and not look like an ass as Corey greeted the woman. Apparently she was the mentor that Corey had been assigned to. And judging from the smiles on both of their faces, it seemed that Corey and the African woman, as he recalled it right, were getting along rather well. That was a good thing since Naruto had enough knowledge to know that despite all the glamour and flash, modeling was a tough gig, and he was not in the mood to have someone as impressionable and kind-hearted as Cory being taken advantage of by anyone with less than scrupulous intent on her person. He had enough of those criminal perverts who do that whenever two of them would show up to stop them when they did something that went against the law. Cory was soon quick to turn back her attention to him, and brought him forward to meet her mentor in modeling. "Friend Alex, I would like you to meet my mentor in modeling." Naruto naturally gave the woman a smile, but before they could talk a lot more and allowing him to get a feel of the woman, she turned when one of the people here working with the models and their clothing called to her attention. They were speaking in what appeared to be Italian, a language she could not speak but was familiar with, since some of the employees in Carol's office were from Italian families and would speak to one another in the same language. The woman smiled and spoke to him once they were in an area that was not as populated by the people. "Since you're with Cory, or rather Starfire, I take it you're the Hokage." "Yeah, and let's leave it at that, miss." The woman smirked a bit and replied. Mary Jin McCabe at your service." "Mary, she certainly looks attractive to be sure, but I still feel like she's familiar to me." "Maybe Naruto, but right now, let's remain focused on finding out more before we make a judgment." "Good to meet you as well, Miss Mary." Mary grinned and then replied. "Wow, pretty polite guy, aren't you? Not what I expected from a superhero of all things." Naruto grinned and replied. "Thanks, though I will admit that you do look familiar to me, not as a model mind you, but someone else." Mary smirked and replied. "Not in a bad way, I hope." "Nope, not at all, but at the moment I still need time to see if I can place your face in my memory on why I know you not as a model. Anyway, it's good to know that Cory's in good hands, since you seem like the trustworthy sort." "Really now? Care to tell me why you would think that of me since we only just met?" "Let's just say that I have some unique abilities that allow me to sense if someone has ill intent on me or my companions. And as far as I have sensed, you don't strike me as the kind who has such ill intent. And I have dealt with people who smile on the outside and act all nice, but are cold and rotten to the core on the inside, so I have some danger sense as it were when meeting said people. Not as accurate, but it works to be honest. Plus whole Cory-chan wears her emotions and heart on a sleeve. She's not that easy to trust people right off the bat, so she must trust you a lot if she is willing to be this friendly with you, Miss Mary." Mary smiled at that and nodded. "I see, no one has ever had anyone show that level of trust to me, so I guess I should prove that I am worthy of such trust, huh?" "Sure, at any rate, may I ask what exactly is going to happen here?" Mary did not hesitate to tell the blonde just what was going to be planned for Cory to use. And so far, it was not that bad, and he was pleased at least that Mary was alright with being Cory's mentor. Plus, despite the still odd energy coming from that necklace which Naruto had to avoid looking at since its location made him see the exposed areas of Mary's more than well-formed breasts, which did not help him in keeping her perverted side under control. He could not sense any negative intent in her towards Cory. Of course, he was certainly going to have a lot of new material to add to his stories, that much was obvious. Naruto sighed a bit more as he looked at how Cory was handling the business suit bit. He had to admit though that she certainly made a good show in the outfit. He then turned to look at how the rest of the people were handling the fact that they had a gorgeous female alien as a model. Some of the female models were none too happy with Cory, while the others were a bit more supportive, and actually liked the young alien woman who was showing off well. Based on one of the pictures of Starfire modeling. So far he could see that Starfire was getting used to the attention, though he noted that she was not too happy with some of the more restrictive clothing. And considering that she wore what was essentially swimwear in public, he could easily see why. But considering the array of clothing that was here, the swimwear bit might very well come in soon enough, and as much as he was trying to play it cool, he was looking forward to that a great deal. And he was not the least bit disappointed, doubly so since it seemed that both Mary and Cory were taking the poolside shoot together. The two were certainly looking good together, and it seemed that Mary was working hard to help Cory get adjusted to this kind of life, and it helped that everyone knew that she had a lot of power in her figure as a fighter. Mary on the other hand was hardly the kind one did not look away from. Naruto was pleased to at least know that she was a good person, and apparently judging by the martial arts build, he could see that mixed well with her modeling figure she could handle herself. As Cory and Naruto left the photo shoot, they were soon joined by Mary, who invited them to a restaurant, and she was paying for it, since she did not often have a protege in the modeling business. And so far Cory was someone that she could call a talented woman, even if by all rights she was not a resident native of Earth after all. When he first appeared, a number of modeling agencies were interested in having Superman model for them in the Kryptonians' off hours. Even after the whole Darkseid incident, there was still some of that going on. Of course, he was also willing to bet that Supergirl herself would have gotten some offers too. Naruto grinned while munching on a bit of steak at that thought. She would have looked real hot, the farmer's daughter look in a bikini. Achoo. Karaken shook her head a bit and tried to make sense of why she had suddenly sneezed. As far as she knew, she had never gotten sick in all of her life. "You okay?" Kara turned to face none other than her close friend Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, as the Redeed had come to Smallville on a bit of a road trip, and since they were close friends, she moved to join Kara to relax from her regular life and her other life as Batgirl. And since she was in the know of Kara being a Kryptonian, she had not expected that to happen and was curious. Yeah, but somehow I just sneezed, which is weird, since Kryptonians don't get sick from Earth sicknesses. Barbara thought about that and then ventured a guess. Maybe someone was talking about you. Kara raised an eyebrow at that. Naruto decided to end that train of thought, since they were now discussing some new projects Corey could try to take part in when she was not on work with Naruto and the League. Any thought on what new projects Corey could take up had to be cut short though when their communicators came online. They excused themselves and Mary did not mind that, wished them luck and hoped they saw one another again. As they left the supermodel to meet up with the rest of the League, however, Naruto and Kurama, well aware now that Mary McCabe was anything but an ordinary if not drop-dead gorgeous model, had a feeling that they would meet her earlier than she might think. In fact, he might as well check up with Batman on what he knew on her. Later, the League were currently getting ready for what would be described as the supersized-up version of a stakeout. The target of said stakeout was an old enemy of Superman, one who Naruto had been told about and had observed before. Lex Luthor, the man who technically built Metropolis from the ground up, but apparently had one hell of an axe to grind with Clark, considering their little war of wills and war had been going on way longer than most would think. So far the plan was going well, and they could not help but stay there and listen to Luthor monologue before Superman, who was in reality John, and thus was immune to kryptonite as he only took the form, not all of Superman's traits. Naruto could not help but shake his head and frown underneath his mask as he looked at the warehouse and listened to the man talk. The whole speech was definitely the traditional villain monologue, and it was tedious to the blonde, though he had to give Luthor credit for doing this for so long without being found out. There were however some things about Lex Luthor that made little sense to the blonde ninja. The most obvious was his long-standing grudge with Superman, which while understandable at first was looking at too excessive in his view. I don't get it. Superman, the real one, turned and spoke. You don't get what Hokage? Why this Lex has got a serious axe to grind against you. I mean he pretty much is a self-made man right here, millionaire, captain of industry, efficient, smart to be sure. If he was not a villain and a corrupt bastard, he would have been quite the leading head in his field. Hell, he would have made a good ally if not for his lack of morals, so why is he so dead set on either putting you 6 feet under, or ruining your reputation? Superman had to admit that the question was actually a very valid one, so he decided to answer said question. Ever since I came to Metropolis and started my life as a hero, Lex was on my case. When I met him it was over his exosuit which he had covertly sold away, while making it look like a theft. The leader of that group that would steal the suit would one day be used by Lex as another means to fight me. He was Metallo, the one you fought against to save my cousin when you came to Metropolis. You mean the cheapskate version of that movie character named the Terminator? I prefer the original version, thank you very much. The guy talked less and was focused on the task, guy's a chatterbox. Superman chuckled at that and continued. Well, Lex has been after me for quite some time, and he has resorted to just about everything to try and take me down. Cloning to make Bizarro, using kryptonite, Metallo's creation, he even resorted to using magic a few times, even if he is a firm advocate of science. What do you mean by that? Superman filled Naruto in on what he knew that Lex had done to get ahead, and even tried to end his life more than once. He did have some scruples to be fair, but not enough to fully give him a clean slate when it came to the moral and ethical side of things. Naruto took in all the details, and when Superman explained that Lex was angry at the thought of him using his powers to help the common man, when he could have easily become a ruler of men. He also mentioned that Lex also disliked the fact that people were more willing to flock to Superman, an alien, than a man who had managed to make his way to the top on his own merits and abilities, never mind the fact that Lex's use of said abilities were anything but benevolent. Naruto took that all in and finally spoke. Okay, at least that cleared it all up for me. What do you mean? I almost thought Chrome Top was gay or something. That made Superman raise an eyebrow. Thought was obvious he was shocked by that kind of statement. You thought Lex was gay? Why? That's the thought, I mean considering how much he seems to enjoy trying to make your life miserable. I almost thought he was getting sexual gratification out of it for some reason. Superman sighed and tried not to laugh at how Lex would react to such an accusation. Oh, he knew that Lo was straight as an arrow when it came to his orientation. But he was having a hard time with resisting the image that brought on if someone accused him of that in public. He was actually hoping to record the look with a camera, and who knew how Kara and Lois would react to that accusation. Okay, that's one line of conversation that I think we should end. I agree, sorry about that, looks like we're about to make things interesting for him. Sure enough, the trap was sprung, and to say that Luthor was less than amused by what happened would have been the same as saying that skunk smelled. However, the wily businessman managed to make things less than easy for the League, and managed to get away, but not without getting hit hard by the blonde ninja, and he swore to get even with Naruto. To which he replied, "Go suck on an egg, Chrome Top." That did not sit well with Lex, to be sure, and no doubt he was going to make sure to get his chance to deal with Naruto soon enough, even though that would have been an odd move, since he was not a Metropolis resident. But as things began to heat up and Superman was pursuing Naruto, who was using his chakra to track Luther on the off chance he escaped, sensed a massive amount of pain coming from the man, as his chakra suddenly dropped and began to behave very radically. Superman on the other hand did not, and was surprised to see Lex's shuttle go down fast and quickly. He and the others rushed to get to him. Once they got there, seeing his rival and nemesis in pain made Superman to a full stop on any intent to arrest him and take him to hospital. The news that came hours later when Luther was examined was something that Clark did not like one bit, and he wondered just how Luther was going to react. As they left the hospital, Naruto could sense that Superman was really hit hard by this. It showed that despite the less than stellar history between them, Superman was not spiteful towards Lex. In fact, he could easily sense that Superman was ever sincere in trying to help Lex, even though Chrome Top was having none of it. In fact, the man stated that Superman had done quite enough for him, and it was clear to the blonde that the statement had enough venom to kill a herd of elephants 3 times over. This reminded him of the time that he had to deal with Mizuki when the insane Chunin, after escaping his prison with his manipulating the stupid brothers Fujin and Raijin, went off to using a highly unstable formula left by Orochimaru to boost his power. Sure, it did just that, but when it wore off and he hit the bastard with the Rasengan, the resulting side effect effectively turned the man into a living husk, and he lost all hope of being a ninja anyway, shape, and form. He was supposed to be a good person to his former fiancée Tsubaki, until Orochimaru got his fangs into his heart, though he wagered a guess that Mizuki was rotten to the core long before hooking up with Orochimaru. And he should have remembered that Orochimaru was not a saint, and was more concerned with his goals than the lives of the rest of the villagers and ninja in Konoha. In that sense, he could easily see Mizuki and Lex being the same kind of person, though in hindsight, Mizuki was a bit more of a nut than Lex was, since Lex was smart enough not to get caught until today. As soon as they were a fair distance from the place, he decided to test the waters and speak to Clark. "You alright?" Clark looked at Naruto and sighed a bit as he responded, being able to hear the concern on the blonde's speech. "Not really. Luther may be an enemy of mine, but he does not deserve this fate. I wish I can at least find some way to reverse what happened to him. I know he would not want to, and I know that I can't trust him completely to change. I understand that, you feel responsible for this, right?" "Yeah." Naruto shook his head at that as they came to where the other members of the league were and spoke. "Well, don't it sounds harsh to be sure, but Luther brought this on himself the day he began his vendetta against you. I have no doubt that he made the mistake of thinking that just because kryptonite is far more potent against you and your cousin Kar, compared to humans like himself, that it would not harm him. He should have recalled that it is a dangerous material to all life. You told me about the time the Joker brought that supposed jade dragon made from kryptonite, remember? Several human owners died when they had it. That fact alone should have told Chrome Top that the thing is dangerous to humans. If anything, he should have kept it in a sealed container to prevent the radiation from getting to him, but his obsession for your demise or fall blinded him to that fact. And now he's paying for it, not you." That man who was nearby had to agree with Naruto's words as they made sense. He had a sliver of kryptonite on his person, but he always kept it in a lead-lined container in his utility belt to keep it from harming him with radiation. That was simply because after that Jade Dragon debacle, he did his research and knew that while the radiation was deadly to Kryptonians like Clark, it was still radiation and could harm others, just not as openly as Clark's people. I agree with Hookage there. Luther should have treated it the same way anything radioactive is to be treated. It's harsh too, but the truth is there and he knows it. Clark frowned and sighed. "Maybe, but that doesn't mean I have to like it." Tori gave a sad look to Clark, due to her people's empathic nature, and she did respect him for showing compassion even to an avowed enemy. Naruto himself understood where Clark was coming from, but decided not to comment on it for a bit more, as he allowed Clark time to digest what he and Batman had said until he spoke. True, but only time will tell if he can change his ways. But not to sound too much like a cynic or anything, but I doubt we'll see the last of all Chrome Top. Guys like him, they're not going to give up no matter what, and this is only going to make it worse. Clark looked at the hospital and then to the arriving police officers, and spoke solemnly. "I wish it was otherwise, but I get the feeling that you may very well be right." And Naruto was right. Lex Luthor knew that in hindsight the game was over. There was no doubt that in a few short months he was going to die. He should have known that the kryptonite was dangerous, but the chance to finally have a major edge over his longtime adversary was too tempting to ignore. He recalled the very first moment he had Superman on his knees with the first shard of kryptonite. Even if that moment had not ended well, the chance to finally have Superman on his knees before him made him feel more powerful than most. That was why he carried it with him at all times, and even more so when he had to work with Joker when Batman and Superman worked together for the very first time. It had been his trump card, and now it was his death sentence. But no, instead of thinking on what to do with his life, Lex Luthor's mind was engulfed with only one thought in mind: Superman's fall. Though it was not the first time he had those thoughts, the urgency of the fact that he was soon going to die only increased the power of his hatred for Superman. Ever since the day the alien came to Metropolis and was embraced by the people, Luthor had it in for the man. He might have tried to brush it off, but the day Superman cast aside his offer to work for him and doing all of his deeds that made people love him, it enraged Luthor. In his mind, he had worked his ass off to be where he was. He had done all he could to earn every business venture, every dollar and cent he now had, and he had risen through his own hard work, sweat, and brain power. He had also risen above the masses of his own effort, and had the desire to prove that he was someone who could surpass everyone else, who did not have the ambition, drive, and willingness to risk all. Then this alien with so much power and abilities came in to use it for the common man, instead of showing his power and strength overall. All of those advantages, all of that power, potential, everything wasted on helping the weak and helpless. They called Luthor, and he vowed to one day bring him down. As he thought about it more, he felt the lingering pain and growled, "If only that bastard never came here. I will not rest until I see you fall, Superman." It was fairly obvious that Luthor was determined, if not more, to finally end Superman, but he knew that in order to do that, he would need to find some way to stave off the damage that was done to him by the kryptonite poisoning from spreading even more than before in him. But right now he could not help but get angrier as he heard a lot of noise coming from the other side of his cell. And he knew just who it was. Ultra Humanite. "Shut that damn garbage up." On the other of the cell, the being in question was quick to speak. "Garbage? I'll have you know that this is a very educational and worthwhile display of mass media, Luthor. Shut that thing off, Orag." Luthor clutched his chest once more as the pain hit him hard, and he managed to rein in his cries, to make sure he did not show weakness. If there was anything that the man hated more than even Superman, it was showing weakness. That made him quiet down, and thus did not hear the news of the program that Ultra Humanite was watching was about to be cut short due to lack of funding, something that apparently did not sit well with the being who frowned at that. And there's another good program, honestly, no one has class anymore. This was the point of the while affair though, that Luthor managed to find a way to hack the being's television set. "Listen, Ultra, I need your help to bust out of here. As much as I loathe asking for help, I am out of options." However, it seemed that his unexpected speaking partner was well aware of his current plight. "Ah, I see that your current state from all that kryptonite you carried around is affecting you. And before you ask, I was aware of the fact that you always carry some on your person. I was surprised that you had not taken any precautions to defend yourself. It was radioactive after all. However, I can help you in making it easier to deal with." Lex normally would have told the being to buzz off, but he was not stupid either. He knew that Ultra Humanite was a very intelligent being despite his form, and looks apart from being very strong in his own right. "How? Well, let us talk business then. You provide me the money to keep my entertainment active, and I provide you the way to keep it at bay. Deal? How do you propose to leave here though?" "Right after dinner time, which should be right about now." The very second the call came in and they got an idea who had been among the escapees, the lead just knew that this was going to be one of those days. No one had any doubt of that more than Clark as he shook his head, knowing that this was not going to end well. He had hoped that this would put an end to Luthor's scheming, since he would have focused on using his time to change his ways, since death was coming to him. And unlike the number of times that he had gotten out of jail through the contacts he had in law enforcement, bribery, and loopholes in the law, Luthor could not do that here, since he was pretty much busted. And of course the kryptonite radiation poisoning that he had would make fighting a moot point, so it was his hope that Luthor would not carry on this vendetta. But apparently the man was not going to give up any time soon, and as such, he had to go and catch him. The Justice League still had to contend with the fact that Luthor had escaped, and this time he was not alone, as the Ultra Humanite was with him. Naruto was not too sure how to rate the gorilla-like being as a threat at first, but his centuries worth of experience was enough to remind him not to take people lightly. He did the same when he tangled with his old friend Rock Lee when he first met him. And of course, he learned never to take even ordinary-looking people. So he was going to take the word of Batman as they tried to locate them, and he soon decided to use his chakra sensory ability in Senjutsu, and locate the now sickened chakra signature that Luthor released, but before he could do that, a massive fire broke out, so they had to cut the chase short. Batman managed to enter a burning building to rescue a trapped young girl, while the others helped the emergency response personnel as best they could on the other side of the complex, as the fires were spreading. Apparently in their escape attempt, both of the two criminals had possibly set off a gas main that led to the fires. Naruto began to use his water jutsu to handle some of the blaze, while the others dealt with the fires in their own fashion. However, Batman's situation had become a lot more serious as the flames continued to grow, and Batman was not the least bit happy about this. He did his best to remain calm and locate a viable exit point for himself, but the fire was not going to make it easy. However, before it could get any worse, he was soon rescued by Hawkgirl. However, he was not exactly thankful for the rescue, a fact that Hawkgirl noted very quickly and spoke. "You know, I usually get a thank you from those I rescue. I'm not used to being rescued. I can see that. As soon as he was set down, Batman moved away, and naturally the others saw that, though they each had different takes on the matter. Corey was wondering why Batman was like that, but had her hands full helping care for the injured with the paramedics, though some of the males nearby could not help but stare at her, along with Wonder Woman and Hawkgirl, not like the reaction was anything new. However, the one thing that was glaring for all of them right now, especially Superman, was that Luthor got away along Ultra Humanite, and while Luthor might not have all his assets with him, he was not going to count out the possibility that Luthor had other assets only he could touch. They also had to worry about Mercy Graves as well. She and Luthor might not see eye to eye, and he treated her like dirt on occasion, but she did love the guy and no doubt would pull some strings for him. The amount of strings, however, was still pretty much in contention, and as such they would have to make sure that they had eyeballs on her. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.